Good morning, students. Since Biographia Literaria is devoted largely to a criticism of the views on poetry and poetic diction expressed by Wordsworth in his preface, hence, a familiarity with the preface is essential for a proper understanding of these chapters. So let's take a look at the genesis of the preface and Coleridge's role in it. Wordsworth's preface to the Lyrical Ballads is a critical document of abiding significance. It underwent a number of revisions till it acquired its present form. The Lyrical Ballads was first published in 1798, and to this edition, Wordsworth merely added a short introduction. In this, the poet very modestly pointed out that his poems were in the nature of experiment to find out whether themes taken from humble and common life and composed in language of real people are suitable for poetry. He also attacked the artificial diction of contemporary poetry. He began writing it in the summer of 1800 and completed it by the end of September. Coleridge said in 1802 that it was, and I quote, half a child of my own brain, since many of its ideas had originated in discussions between the two poets, and he may have even given further help by making notes on those topics. I unquote. Nevertheless, it was Wordsworth who finally shaped this material and in doing so assimilated, which means absorbed it in his own way of thinking. With several of his formulations, Coleridge subsequently came to disagree. The preface was revised, enlarged, and perfected for the 1802 edition of the Lyrical Ballads. The most significant addition was the long account of the nature, qualifications, and functions of a poet. The demonstration of his superiority over the man of science, and an examination of the nature of poetic pleasure. The preface was constantly revised and perfected for each subsequent edition of the Lyrical Ballads, but basically the poet's views remained the same. Now let's take a look at Wordsworth's aim and objectives in writing this preface. Now, Wordsworth himself tells us that his aim in writing the preface was not to give an elaborate account of his theory of poetry or to make a systematic defense of his point of view. He fully well realized that systematic, elaborate discussion of his theories was not possible within the brief compass of a preface. It was only at the insistence and advice of his friends that he added the preface to the second edition of his poems. He did so because he felt that his poems were of a new kind, both in theme and style, and therefore he felt that he should not present them without a word of introduction. He therefore added the preface as an introduction explaining the ways in which his poems differed from the poetry popular in the age. Every new and original poet has to create the taste by which he is read and enjoyed, and the creation of such a taste was Wordsworth's basic objective in writing the preface. So he seeks through this preface to bring out drastic revaluations of earlier poetry so that his own poetry may be properly appreciated. So, what does the preface contain? The preface contains Wordsworth's views, number one, on the nature of poetry, number two, the poetic process, number three, functions of poetry, number four, qualifications of a poet, number five, the nature of poetic truth. The poet has a high conception of his own calling and regards poetry as superior to philosophy, history, and science. We will continue with this in my next lecture. Have a good day.